I want to ask you about some comments you gave earlier this week about immigration. And I remember your speech at the UCP convention a few weeks ago. When you talked about immigration, that was one of the largest responses from the crowd in applause. Tell me some of your latest ideas. You were thinking that newcomers maybe have a waiting period before they can get into social services. What are your ideas?
Well, I guess a couple things I'd say is that I think that the federal government destroyed the historic consensus we've always had in Canada. We used to have an enviable immigration system based on points, bringing in professionals, giving extra points for people who had degrees and could speak one of the official languages, and they blew that up. That we received a very large number of temporary workers, refugees, family reunification, international students, pretty much everyone but the economic migrants that had always been the source of its success. And we're seeing it. It has brought our public services almost to the brink of collapse. That's one of the challenges that we face in our education system, is we went from having a stagnant enrollment in our system to having a net new 85,000 kids added, 96,000 of which speak English as a second language, or English language learners, which is double what we saw 3 years ago. It's put enormous pressure. People are seeing the pressure in being able to get a doctor or nurse practitioner. They're seeing a pressure on buying a house, getting rent. The price of everything is going up, and they're frustrated. When I was going around with the Alberta Next panel, we heard of parents and grandparents saying, my kid or my grandkid has applied for dozens of jobs, even at McDonald's and Tim Hortons, and can't get one. So what we have asked the federal government to do, and it looks like they're curtailing many of those programs. We've been supportive of the changes that they've made, particularly on the temporary foreign worker program. But the federal government's irresponsibility has put huge costs onto our taxpayers. And so what I've looked at in the UK, Keir Starmer, he's having this conversation about whether you have to work for 5 years before you are able to receive social services. I believe that's their current policy. They're talking about making a person wait 10 years. And so you should come to Alberta because you have a job. You should be a taxpayer first. And then if you want to stay and become a permanent resident, that's when you can bring in your wife and your kids, and you can start on the pathway to permanent citizenship. We believe that those who are not here in a permanent status should be treated like tourists. And as a tourist, you don't go to somebody else's country and say, pay for my child care, pay for my education, pay for my health care, pay for my long-term care, give me a pension. We have to get back to something approaching a consensus around immigration again. And so that's what we're going to be looking to Albertans to see if they want to give us a mandate to do that.
I think part of it is that people see obviously bogus refugees and bogus temporary foreign workers who are not specialists that we can't get, not seasonal crop pickers. Like, people see that all these different categories, the diploma mill, fake school students, I think part of it is people feel taken advantage of.
Completely.